What's up, everybody, and welcome back into the Play the Fight Song podcast. Big episode tonight. We're covering all things college football 25. I think we're all excited for the game, as much as Schaefer will not admit it. It's going to be a good one. We're going to talk over everything tonight, all the details that were released with the teaser trailer a couple weeks ago. But, I mean, we have some guys in here that need to get the next-gen consoles. I think all three of you guys do, actually. I'm the only one that does not need to do that. So,
yeah,
some big investments. And big investments coming from the boys who are all here tonight. I'm joined alongside JP, Jake, and Reese. Let's go to Jake. How are we feeling? I know you're kind of a negative Nelly when it comes to this video game, but you got to have a little bit higher vibes tonight.
Yeah, I'll actually give some lighter news. I just found this out because I'm so out of touch with like the new video games world. My brother informed me that like the Xbox Series X, or is it the S, is only like $250. So
what?
Really?
Yeah.
Is that the wait? Is that the one that's
go on
YouTube
right now, or YouTube? Go on Walmart right now. It's like $220. And
is that
let me finish.
I just want to ask you a question.
Let him
is
talk.
that the most recent one?
Yeah, it's a part. So apparently
there's not one
two.
in between. Okay.
There's two.
Jacob,
There's
I think
the
we're
X.
being swindled.
There's the S.
Oh, children, just spend the money.
You can pay for, and like you just will have less memory space, and like apparently you have to get all the games digitally on there. But like obviously I'm speaking on behalf of myself. There's only one game I care about. There's only one game I'm going to get and one game I'm going to be playing. So it makes me a little happier about it, Parks. I'm a little more optimistic. I'm a little more excited. So a little more for my budget.
It. Anything that helps your attitude, I'm down and I'm in on. We need that, and it's a morale thing. And Jake was consistently on the negative side of things when I bring up this video game. So I hope that changes his mood a little bit. I know, and that's earned. That's earned from what they've put out with Madden. True. We'll get into it later, but we got a lot to cover tonight. Of course, we're going to touch in some recent news because there is a lot of news, including some coming from the mid-3. Jake finally has an offensive coordinator over there in Ames, but let's go to JP. JP, are you ready to talk the greatest video game ever created?
Yep,
possibly. Maybe an updated version of that, but the greatest video game series, I should say.
Do I need to? I'm going through this whole. Do I stay on as a PlayStation person, or do I switch to Xbox? You know, like there's no real
PlayStation
downside to either one of them, though.
Come join me.
I get every game.
Shout out
Rick.
Rick.
On both now. They don't have that anymore. Like. There's no exclusives like Grand Theft Auto.
There's crossplay.
Do shows on everything. That's what I'm saying.
It's like just get the cheaper option.
But they didn't used to be that way, Jacob. That's what I'm telling you.
I know. So there's your answer.
To be honest, I don't really know. I don't really know how it would work. How does it work between crossplay with EA Sports? Obviously,
it's going to be the exact same. I assume
it's
all one
server. EA Sports account separately. I mean, I just don't know how you would join a party or something like that when it comes to that. Because Epic has its own for like Fortnite, but I don't know.
Yeah, like if we're doing online Dynasty,
us can figure that out.
If we're doing online Dynasty, do we all need to have an Xbox or PlayStation? I feel like they could figure that out.
If mine's purchased already, you guys got to go PlayStation. Come on, don't make me buy the second console.
That's tough, buddy. I don't know.
Sorry, 3-1.
No, that Xbox isn't going to work. All right, let's go into some recent news. Reese, wait, I'll go to you. I want to talk to you about this game because you didn't play it growing up probably as much as we did, as you were a more recent.
Reese is in trouble in this game.
Shut up. Yeah, dude, I'll figure it out.
This is a bye week.
All I know is I was in trouble when I tried to play one of you guys because you guys actually play as like the Mike linebacker and do a little QB spy and cover routes, and I still hit the defensive end and just hit smash on that and try to sack the quarterbacks. I'm like, ooh, there's a little bit of a difference here, and these guys are scheming up plays. But I mean, I played a lot on like the 06 on the regular Xbox. I used to play as Iowa a lot because back then I didn't really know. But I remember Drew Tate, Ed Hinkle. Was it Ed Hinkle? JP was white on that game. That was an absolute animal.
Yep.
Actually, I remember.
Yep.
I don't remember I don't know what the play was, but I remember there was one where you could just always get him open, and I would just hit him because Iowa was like top 5 on that game, weren't they?
Nasty.
Yeah, they were good. Like I used to always play as them because kid from Iowa, and
Especially when we were younger, I feel like that was a big move is to play with your team, and then we'll get into one of our later segments on the video game itself on teams we're going to rebuild dynasty mode wise. I feel like that didn't really hit us until, I don't know, we learned the game a little bit more and tried to make it more fun, because when you were younger, it was just, you get the game, you unwrap it, you play with Nebraska, Iowa State. That's just what you do. And so hopefully,
I personally like had a friend group that really got into that aspect of it in every video game. So like MLB The Show, it was franchise mode. Like it was the building of the team that was the fun spot. Like, and then that kicked off the NCAA stuff. And then I wasn't a 2K guy really, but if my friends were, I would join in. But I enjoyed playing that way more than I did True Discord, underutilized thing, I think.
Discord
maybe not
weird,
not for gamers, but like normal
So they
people
don't
like
use
us
that thing.
don't use it. It's nice. It's so easy. It's like just talking on the phone. You just have it on your computer on the side. It's easy.
I
Oh, yeah,
assume
yeah,
there's
yeah.
not strong community rules on that either, which is probably going to be
No,
needed for this video game.
So I don't think
All
so.
right, that's
Let's
good
put on
news.
some
That's good
guidelines,
news.
kids.
All right, let's go to recent news in college football. We'll start with a little bit of lighter side of things. We're going to talk on the college football playoff yet again. These things just keep coming out in the offseason. They're having all these meetings, and they got to find stuff to talk about. And now we've talked about expanding to 14 teams, and the SEC and the Big Ten want 2 automatic bids when it goes to 14 teams. Is that a crazy ask? My initial answer would be no. JP, when you hear that, do you think it's a crazy thing for those 2 conferences to ask, who have already said, kind of threatened, not really threatened, but kind of said, we could do our own thing. We're that powerful.
Well, I think they want 3 or 4, I think is their number that they want auto bids. Now, think about it like this. You're going to get the 2 that go to the conference title. So those are basically auto bids. If you play for a conference title, you are an auto bid, whether you win it or not. That's just how that works. So you're only asking for 1 or 2 more. I get why people don't like that and why it might, raise some flags and stuff, but it kind of feels like it's inevitable anyway. The problem is if like the Big Ten has a down year, the SEC has a down year, and maybe the ACC or Big 12 is up, right? Then if you're auto doing that, then you can't adjust it on the year. So like if there's not 4 deserving Big Ten teams, that's the problem. But it kind of feels like more often than not, you're going to get 4 SEC. I think we can say that fairly. 4 Big Ten might be pushing a little bit. It kind of depends on, where Oregon or Michigan State or Penn State or somebody like that sits on a random year. But I don't think it's that crazy of an ask. I think to be an auto bid, I think is wrong. I think they're going to get the benefit of the doubt anyway, but they want that security because they feel like they're the real ones bringing in the money, the real ones, with a shot to win it all. So it's not that crazy, but Jake, I know you're probably looking at it from a different perspective.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to go to. Jake, as an outsider, is it kind of, I don't know, does it kind of leave you with a salty taste in your mouth that these conferences are just almost demanding these things and your team's on the outside trying to get in?
I'm not oblivious. I clearly know where kind of the Big 12 sits in college football as far as the entire perspective of the conferences go. But I think, like JP, you said it perfectly. We're going to give these 2 conferences the benefit of the doubt anyways. It's just greed at this point. Like these 2 conferences are basically just wanting to guarantee themselves a spot and guaranteeing themselves a piece of that cut. So that's a little frustrating. I mean, the fact that we're even having this conversation before we've even given the 12 team a chance, it's frustrating too. But I think the Big Ten and the SEC, I think somebody said it perfectly the other day. They're not going to go create their own league. They need college football as a whole more than everybody else, because as an Iowa State fan, I can tell you, I will be way less interested if the Big Ten and the SEC created their own league, like me watching their games, just because like, even though it's a sliver of a chance, just the thought that Iowa State has they're in the same pool, they're in the same opportunity, the same season as Texas A&M or whoever it may be, that intrigues me to watch that football game. If they're playing 2 different leagues, they're going to lose ratings. I think they're going to lose half the interest. So they still need everybody else in college football, but they still want all those
the
spots.
casual as much as you need the diehard in the sport to make money. It's a fact. And so if you were like one of these bigger wigs, you probably realize that, but at the same time, you're like, I'm going to thread that needle until it burns me. I don't think they're going to inch their way towards it. I think they're going to try to get as much as they can, as fast as they can, and then they'll adjust accordingly. But hopefully you don't burn too many bridges and piss too many people off, because we've seen this happen. Maybe not as much in the sports world, but in like normal, like the go woke, go broke culture. Like this isn't woke, but this is annoying as hell to people who are, have been invested all this time, and then you just burn those bridges. Like, actually, you don't matter to the fan, the watcher, the guy that's actually bringing us revenue. It's only the people paying our TV contracts.
I agree. Okay, let's jump to the next one. Let's go one step ahead of the agenda. We're going to go to the new offensive coordinators. We'll start with Iowa State. We'll let Jake kind of run with this one. Taylor Mousey, coming from the tight end coach position, hiring in-house. Jake, what do we think about this hire?
Yeah, and I mean, I probably will break this down in a bigger video with Justin and I in probably a week or so. But at first hand, it's not surprising. If anybody had listened to my video last week, I was 75% sure that it was going to be in-house, and the other 25, I knew it was going to be a Matt Campbell connection. So to get one or the other doesn't really surprise me at this point. He's a Nate Scheelhaase disciple, is what they want to call him. They kind of think it's this next young mind that can generate more ideas in the offensive room. I think it's a good hire for the circumstance. Just give him a year. You know, they made some other moves as far as like naming the pass game coordinator and the run game coordinator. They took North Dakota State's offensive coordinator and put him in the room as well. So kind of shook up that room a little bit. I think they're kind of just going to stick with the talent that they have and look at this year and give it kind of a test run, I think.
It kind of struck me as it was so late in the year that in-house was the best route to go. Is that kind of what you maybe gave you that thought that they were going to stay in-house with it?
Yeah, I think so. And just based on the fact of the success Iowa State had going from Scheelhaase last year to the year prior, they saw the blueprint. Scheelhaase kind of gave them ideas and showed that room. This is how you can be successful at Iowa State. If you don't have the best athletes on the field, this is how you can stay productive and really promote how Rocco Beck can improve as a quarterback. So, yeah, I think, with 3 weeks until spring ball, I'm glad they didn't take a ton of time. And I'm pretty sure, Matt Campbell probably knew what he was going to do 2 days after it even came out.
Yep. And we'll see what they look like on the field coming soon. We're only, 27 Saturdays away from college football returning, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing to hear. Let's go to the next hire. UCLA has a new offensive coordinator and associate head coach. JP, tell us about him.
Yeah, I think when you look at this, right, it kind of makes me feel better about UCLA. But at the same time, if you're going to go Eric Bieniemy, I feel like you were going to go head guy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this feels like the bigger hire than what they did head coach wise. But at the same time, maybe it's only going to work out this way because the first you go head coach hire, and then that's where the tree comes in and maybe some connections there. Maybe the other way around wasn't an option. But this is a good hire. The guy's proven he can win and coach really good offenses and schemes, even at the NFL level. But like, how much does that really help you? How good of a recruiter is he? How good is he in the college ranks? I just feel like there's still a lot of question marks around UCLA, and it's not going to be they're going to go from a Chip Kelly scheme to an Eric Bieniemy scheme. I'm not sure exactly how big the differences are going to be within them, but they're not the same. They're going to have different players. You lost a lot of guys to the portal. Like, it feels like still too much of a reset. Like, it's good if you can keep him there for a couple years, because if he blossoms, then what?
I mean, just on the Eric Bieniemy side, like, did he just get sick of not getting NFL head coaching jobs, and he finally just said, screw it, we're going to put a reset on this, and we're going to go back to the college ranks and try to promote himself there? I mean, it was tossed around like he's a Colorado grad. He was a Big 8 player of the year back in the day at Colorado. Is this Deion's next in line? If we kind of think where Deion is going with this, where it's just kind of this year or nothing, or next year or nothing kind of situation. I don't know. I think it's interesting. He's kind of a hard ass coach. Like, it's been publicly known. He's not afraid to get on the best, even Patrick Mahomes. So how does that translate to college? JP, like you said, can he recruit at that level? That's another question. And somebody tossed the idea around. There's a big difference between college football and NFL. Is he going to step into that room and just overcomplicate things for Ethan Garbers? Like, that could be a very real scenario too.
100%. All right. Moving on. Let's go back to Kenny Dillingham. The young, fiery coach from Arizona State had a splendid quote when it came to college football coaching. You hear all these recent news, all the rumorings around Saban retiring, how different the game is becoming. Dillingham came out last week and said, quote, "There's a lot of negative in it. Yes. But do you know how many people want to be a college football coach? I literally spent 9 years of my life doing anything to become a coffee boy. So don't give me the, oh, it's hard to be a college football coach right now. Then quit. That's how he looks at it. And that's not crazy. It's a cool quote because there's a lot of complaining about how long the recruiting seasons become. The dead period's too short. They don't get to be with their families. These guys are paid 8, 9 figures, man. I mean, over the time of their career. Of course, the job's going to be demanding. JP, what did you take away from this quote from Dillingham?
I get it. I do. I get both sides of this. You're going to say like this, somebody's dream job, right, is too hard. But at the same time, these people aren't doing it. These coaches aren't doing it because like they're mad or just can't handle it. I don't know. I feel like they're not doing it just to complain and complain. I feel like they're doing it to better the sport, to make it a better spot for them, to make it a better spot for players, to make it easier on families. I just feel like they're doing it for all the right reasons. So if they're going to, bitch and moan, as he's basically saying here, I get it. But at the same time, I also get it. Like, you don't always have to do it in the loudest form. Like, you can say like suggestions, and maybe that's just the easy way for him to say it, is just quit complaining, quit bitching kind of thing. But I do kind of think he's on the right track. I get it, but I also get the other side just as much.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's easy. I totally get it as well, but I think it's easy for him to say that as he's getting. I'm assuming he makes at least $1 million in a Power 4 conference right now. He's got the upper 5% of the nice jobs in college football. Yeah, he was a coffee boy for 9 years, but times
Isn't
have
everybody
changed.
when they stop? Like
Yeah,
everybody when they start basically is.
But like I'm saying, I think his position in today's college football, like the coffee boy in today's college football, works way more hours. They're always on the clock. The recruiting period is way too damn long. They never get any breaks. I think it's a much different situation than when he was kind of the runt 10 years ago. But I don't know. I do agree. I think that some of these head coaches complain as they're sitting there making $3 million a year when, I don't want to go like that blue collared kind of guy that's like, you could be a construction worker or whatever, as we're sitting in our basement talking college football. But yeah.
And not only
the
that,
frustration.
he's at a school that they don't really have as high as expectations. Like, he's not going to be held to the same schedule as Ryan Day. No, they may be on a similar schedule, but he's at a school where if, let's say, he does all this and it doesn't work out, he wins 5 games, wins 6 games. He's probably not going to lose his job as quick as some of the other guys. So I feel like that's a stressor as well. Reese, what do you got?
I'll say 2 things can be true at the same time. I mean, yeah, it's a different world you live in, but it's also, you're in a very privileged spot where everybody wants your job. I think you just got to man up and do the job. Like, you can you can complain. We're all humans. We're all going to complain about stuff, but doing it on a social media platform or out loud when you are in that privileged spot, that's just going to make people look down on you. I think, like, if you are the head coach of Oregon State or wherever the hell, and you're like, this is just too hard for me, or I can't do it, like, your fan base don't give a shit. Like, they want you to do better. Like, we picked you, man up and do the job. Like, I can 100% get his point of where it's like, get up and do it, because you're in a privileged spot where, like, it's your job. Guess what? You signed up for this thing. People out there do a lot of crappy jobs, and they complain just as much, but guess what? They're not making millions and millions of dollars to do it. And you have you're seated above a lot of people, especially with the position you're in. You're also at a major university, and most of these universities are in pretty nice cities. Like, you're living a little better life, and I think a lot of people lead on as well too. But like I said, 2 things can be true at the same time. I like the quote a lot.
I love it. I think you hit that one right on the nose. Okay, let's jump to the last piece of news. Conference realignment still swinging. UMass joins the MAC. They will be a part of the MAC.
Let's go, Minutemen.
One of the historically worst programs in college football. JP, what do you think about this team joining the MAC? It's kind of a perfect fit. They play ugly football. This is going to fill up our Tuesday nights even better.
Yeah, they already play a MAC schedule, basically. Like, I think a quarter to a half of their schedule is MAC teams anyway. So it fits. Nobody else is going to take them, right? No. How many times have somebody asked to join the MAC? 0 times, actually. I'm pretty sure North Dakota State would end up in the Mountain West before. I'm sure South Dakota State would rather go to the Mountain West than the MAC. Like, better product, better teams, better atmospheres, even if you want to play that game. So this is like the one, hey, way to get after it, MAC. I mean, we're expansion at its finest right here. This is what we thought we'd get when we first heard that Texas and Oklahoma were moving. This is the big one though.
Was it?
He's muted.
Dude,
He has no idea.
Oh, yeah, just
Sorry, Jake. This will take place in 2025. What do you think on this? Do you like UMass? They add the ugly football, or what do you think?
First of all, weren't they in college football 14 or 13? Weren't they already a part of the MAC?
They were originally
I think they're independent.
they are an independent right now. I'm pretty
But I
sure
think
they
in
entered
one of
in
those
the game
games,
as the
they
MAC,
were
yeah,
part of the MAC.
but they're an independent. I don't
Okay.
know when that switched within the video game. Obviously, we have a small sample size because they were only in it like a year or two.
Yeah, like 13, 14. But
Yeah.
on the other side of things, I don't know. I think I can bring this up a little bit because it is February. We're inching towards March. This is just another example of college football realignment ruining the great sport, or what was, I think, the great sport of college basketball. UMass and the MAC just makes no sense on a weeknight on a Tuesday in February. UMass is a good A10 team. Like, they belong in the A10. It was a conference that's regionalized, but because these dumb schools who can't win more than 2 games a year in football, they want to go make more money. So they join a league that plays their football games on Tuesday nights in November. So that I love college football. I love what it does in a lot of different ways, but conference realignment really, it ruins a lot of the other things. And it is just
Cutting
destroyed.
sports coming.
It's destroyed
Cutting sports.
the purpose of college basketball, in my opinion. So I don't really love to see this because it's not going to get me to watch more MAC games.
It's true.
And this team was much better off
Already dug
playing
in.
a independent schedule that could only win 3 games a year. I thought this team wasn't going to be an FBS team in 2 years, let alone joining another conference. Like, seriously.
This keeps him there. This keeps him there.
Well, you thought wrong. Here come the Minutemen.
Reese, would you bet
Massachusetts.
on a UMass? Would you bet on a UMass football game on a Tuesday night?
Absolutely, I would. We got to figure out what the
There you
line
go.
is before I
Then it's a good thing.
invest in it. But we do it.
And it's a good thing in my book. I mean, I'll watch it. They add to it. It's a little bit of spice, keeping college football somewhat bad. I mean,
Right,
bad
you're gonna bet
football
the
on
under in
Tuesday
that game.
nights is a part of the game, and I love it. All right, here we go. We are jumping into college football 25 talk. We are going to go through a bunch of the information that they threw at you in the teaser trailer last week. There's some good stuff in here. We're going to first open it up that the players are going to receive $600 and a copy of the game, and I need to immediately ask all of you, is that enough?
Yep.
You guys, I mean, that is put yourself in the mental space of, let's say, Shadur Sanders, because he makes a ton of NIL money. Is that enough?
Cares?
Yep.
Yeah, who cares?
I know. I
Tom
agree.
Taylor,
Who cares? That's your personal opinion, but
Hey, could Negative Nelly ask something quick?
yes, let's hear it.
Positive.
Do we see this? Do we
Man,
see this
Ollie.
game die again because players aren't getting compensated enough for it? And $600.
Hell no.
never
Keep
has
their
become-
ass out. I ain't buying it to play with the kid. I
Yeah.
don't give a shit. I think it's cool. Like, I trust me. I really, because I thought it was cool when you could play the game, and I was like Reese was saying, you're Drew Tate, or you could be Vince Young, or running as Reggie Bush. But
JP,
even when the
JP,
name wasn't in it, I don't
JP.
care.
You're
Didn't hurt.
thinking in the mind of a 25-year-old guy who hasn't had this game in a decade. Yes, you're going to buy it, but you're forgetting about the other part of this group that's going to be paying for half of its sales, and that's the 10 to 13-year-olds who are begging mommy and daddy because they want to.
Mommy and daddy will still buy that game whether some kid's in it or not.
No, it's not. It's not them buying it. It's them asking for their parents to buy it because those players are in
But
it.
how many times as
Like,
a
you
kid
take
did
out-
you buy this game right here, because you wanted to play as a certain player?
I could genuinely say if you took out, as a 10-year-old, if you took out Reggie Bush, if you took
Nope.
out some Iowa State players, I would be less interested. Now, would that sway me to not buy the game? Probably not. I don't know. But the fact, guys, come on now. Let's not be oblivious. You looked up to every Iowa player when you were 10, every Nebraska
Yeah, but
player
I'm
when you were
saying
10.
I never. It was more about the stadium, the school, the uniforms, the ability to be a part of that than it was to play as a certain player. To me,
I would agree with that. I would agree with that because at the end of the day, we can say what we want about what the rosters are going to look like. Some nerd out there, I love you. I love you. If you're listening to that and you're that nerd,
We
you're
love
gonna
you.
upload it.
Actually,
And if you think that
I
they're
don't
going
know
to
if they'll
block it
let
out,
him.
you can't type in Shadur Sanders. Okay, well then Padur Panders is going to be playing quarterback in
That's true.
Colorado. I know who the hell it's going to be.
And,
So it's not
are
going to
they
be far
going to
enough.
change the attributes on these kids or just not put their name in there? Like, is this kid instead of being 6'5", with dreadlocks, is he 6'4", with no dreadlocks and his numbers different, but the same attributes? He's still going to be like, you know what I mean? Like, how much
I
different
think
is
that
going to
still
get?
goes into his likeness. Like if he
No, it
doesn't
doesn't.
opt into his like.
Okay, so
Why-
we're
why
gonna.
Or is he
doesn't it?
5'8",
Well,
150 pounds with brown hair?
It's a
or
different
5'8",
number. He's
150
got
pounds with red
different
hair?
hair. You have no idea. You have no idea. You could I don't think you could say that's me.
Little guys
That's
can play
me.
football,
If
too.
the hair, the numbers different, the hair or whatever
that
else,
in the hair,
maybe like
JP.
other stuff different.
Little guys can
He's stuck
football
on-
too, Jay.
he's stuck on
But I'm
80s.
saying you're gonna take that to court and be like, well, their attributes is the same as mine. The judge would be like, what attributes do you have? What would you put yourself as? How do you know that's you? You know
Hondo.
what I mean?
Yeah.
What are you gonna watch film side by side with this kid playing a video game? Be like, actually, you know what? He looks like an 84 speed. It might be him. No,
I just
That's not
don't
gonna
know what
happen.
they're going to do when it runs into, because there's only so many numbers you can wear in a football jersey. Like, what if everybody besides the starting quarterback opts in? Is that starting quarterback going to be number 97? Because that was one of the few numbers available.
Yeah.
So
possible.
that would be an ugly mess up. But either way, we're going to find ways around it. I don't think, I mean, if guys like Travis Hunter, Shadur Sanders are taking the money, I think maybe other places,
it's not
I would
gonna
hope
happen for
kids
at
are going to
least
be like,
4
All right.
years. I think
That's
in
enough.
3 or 4 years we'll start hearing like,
Well,
yeah, dude, I deserve to get more. I deserve to get more. Like I believe
25-year-old
that,
Grayson McCall's going to need the $600 to pay for his life insurance when he gets out of school, man.
Mhm. Fair enough. Fair enough. Throw that in your 401k. It's already adding up. Also, let's not forget, we can be honest here. We all were in college 2-3 years ago.
it's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. That would do a
That's
lot for me.
3 months of rent
But-
right there.
At the same time, that is
2.5?
It's like
that's like
65 Panda Express trips for everybody.
I think
That's
that's like a
it.
week or a half a week of pension from those kids that they get or stipend, whatever they get as Division I athletes.
Yeah.
Like they don't blink at that.
I would. It's just extra money, and it's good for us to have the ability to play as them in a video game. I almost said the other way. I almost said play with them, but I didn't. Would have had to hard pause on that. All right, let's jump to the next parts of this game. What we know, there's going to be no coaches, which is kind of weird to me. I'm sure they'll maybe come to a deal with them sooner than later. All 134 FBS schools are in the game. That includes your Kennesaw State. That includes your Sam Houston State. You'll have the ability to play with these teams for the first time in the history of video gaming. They were never in one before, so it's awesome.
Sam Houston State.
Oh, that's not true. No. The games used to have FCS teams back in the heyday.
Oh, that's way
Yeah, they
back,
did,
way,
and it was
way back.
absolutely electric.
That was amazing.
But that's my next point. No FCS schools at launch, which was the very big point of that is at launch, because I would love for that to be added into the game. Playing in the Dakota
do you
Dome
think
and
they're gonna do a
Vermilion would be electric.
subscription? Could do like a subscription, like they get like 6 months in, they like first launch the first 5. It's North Dakota State, South Dakota State.
Oh, like the old
Uh,
uniform packs.
Yeah, but it's a subscription. You got to
It's
pay like
DLC.
$30 for a DLC. Yeah, like Call of Duty.
That's fine.
does.
I'll do it.
I was going
Do
to
you
say.
think they would?
Some
I
boys
kinda
are doing
think
it.
they might.
No
I kinda
problem.
think they might.
Ain't no problem.
No problem. That is no problem at all. I mean, thank God this is coming out when we're adults and we're young enough now where we don't have too
Disposable
many
income kind of-
responsibilities.
Hey,
I'm
you know
throwing
dinner
that
you
bitch
wanted to
out.
go to? I can't. I got to buy the new DLC. I mean, you got to believe right now that Albany's in this, and like it's just crazy. You have to let me buy it. Like,
It's 2
Albany,
less
Cal
bouquets of
Poly,
flowers.
Drake.
2 less bouquets of flowers. Sorry, honey. Maybe my marriage will take a hit, but damn, I'll take it. I need
My
those
mental be
teams.
up.
I'm putting it in. And then JP, I'll let everybody talk on this. I'm sure Jake, this is a very big worry for you as well. Same engine as Madden, which it's EA Sports, so that's expected. But it should look and feel different. That should is a very, very important piece. What's your biggest worry for this game? It's that it feels like Madden, right? That it plays like Madden?
Yeah, I hate the run mechanics in that game. I just hate the movement style.
I
in
just
that
think
game.
everybody runs like DK Metcalf in that game. That's what I
just-
compare it
and they
to.
look weird. Like everybody's built like a cone or something. It looks odd. Like we had it right. We just need to like not make it so dramatic. Like you got so realistic, you made it unrealistic with how some people look in Madden. Like they focused on the face so much that this guy literally looks like a sand hourglass. Like it makes no sense. Like what does that even mean? It's just weird.
Yeah, I hear that. Jake, what do you got? What's your biggest scare with this football game, and is this it?
As somebody who gave Madden a shot for like 2 months and then quit after I threw an interception off my center's head, off my quarterback's chest, off the center's ass, and then into the defensive lineman's hands. Yeah, that's pretty scary for me, to be completely honest with you. I don't know. It's college, so I feel like you gotta make it this sounds dumb, but you got to make it a little more unrealistic. Make the
Yep.
players a little quicker. Yeah, they might make a dumber catch than they probably should. The cut
We've
should
all
be a
seen
little
that clip,
faster.
right, where the kid gets sacked, he dives at the quarterback's legs, and he's falling backwards, and throws it like this, and it goes
Yeah, it
like
throws it right behind him.
65 yards on a dime. Yeah, incredible stuff. Like that, I
I
can
won a
handle
couple
that
of
stuff.
those.
It's insane the progressions the game has taken graphically and pretty much everything else except for the mechanics. The mechanics, I think, took a step back. I don't know how they run less human-like now than they did
Yeah.
in 2013, but they did
I-
it. EA Sports found a way.
Yeah,
So,
I
like-
agree. It has done that, but go ahead, Jake.
I was gonna
would
say,
change the
somebody
topic.
let me know, like, what does the engine even mean? Like, I
The
sound
engine
old for
would
saying
mean
that.
like your movement mechanics and how people react when they run into each other.
I
like
assume it's the
hand
base
movement,
So
code of
it's-
the
your
game.
It's the
like-
same. So how is that the
Everything.
same as Madden, but it's going to feel different?
because you can
I
tweak
assume
it
it's
and
the
move
base
it around.
game.
Yeah.
Like sidelines, cutaways,
Juke
things
differently
like
or
that.
something.
No, I think
or-
I think it's the same. Like
Any nerd out
Think of it
there
as
know
like
what
one-
engine means?
yeah.
What has better info?
it's like
Drop
the
in the
same.
comments.
Yeah, come
overall
on,
one,
nerds.
But you can make tweaks to it. Like there's tweaks to be made.
I have a question, Jake. Are you a guy? Would you say that you get mad at these football games? Like, do you think you get
As-
frustrated when it comes to playing these NCAA games? Like, do you ever get mad?
Okay, first of all, trick question, and I'll
Insert
tell the
clip
crowd.
here.
I'll tell the chat honestly. As
You don't
As
have
the-
any timeouts. We don't have any timeouts. You got it. Hey, here. Come on. Get off. Who you got? Who you got? Who you got? Put it on my ball. I told you.
What is that, Slim Cooper? Why did you dive forward? Why did you dive forward?
4 down, scored a touchdown. That was awesome.
What are you fucking doing?
That was awesome.
I thought you were
Are you-
gonna
that
make
was-
a TikTok of that. I didn't think you had them loaded up. That was good, dude.
that's fucking great. Good for you guys. That's pretty
funny.
funny. Those aren't even my top 3 highlights. As somebody who's been grounded for like kicking holes in walls and shattering glass, like those really happened.
Dude,
I
I've
yeah.
chucked the controller in my day.
I
Facts.
am staying up at night knowing that this game could play like Madden because I don't want to touch back.
There's
what
no down
that
pause
inner
coming
demon
back.
used to be. Because I haven't seen that guy around in a long time, and I just don't. I don't need to see
Oh, he's
him.
hiding. He's creeping out, buddy.
Oh, he'll come out. And then this is a perfect example of why this game is so important to us. It's brought us memories. I think all of us can say whether we've broken something, punched a hole in a wall, or had a good experience with the game.
Legitimate
throwing Hail
fights
Marys
with
to win the
friends
game.
though. Like
Yeah.
legitimate, like we are face to face, like ready to go because that's the kind of stuff that happens. So that's it's
No
very
reason at all.
Little family shot there from JT, but it's very true. I think when we would watch him play nightly, there were some mental issues going on with Jake. But it's a very important game. Let's keep going to the information. Like we said, no coaches. What do you guys think about this? Does it suck? Is it
Fine,
going to be
fine.
weird? I guess
It's
it doesn't
weird,
really
it's
matter.
fine. I don't think it's gonna affect the game that much.
Don't you create your own coach in 2014, anyways? Don't you
Yeah.
create yourself?
every
in
time you start
mode?
Dynasty. Yeah.
I
And
think
you're
the only
never-
one that has it is we need to give a quick shout out to this. The only thing that has it is college football revamped, which for the last 6 years, those guys have brought us joy again.
Yeah.
And there's members
goes.
of that team that are on this project for EA Sports that they brought on, which is very good and news for us. But those guys,
And-
shout out.
Those revamped guys did a really good job of listening to the people who are playing revamped, right? Like if something was going on, like they were really good at responding. If somebody wanted something added or just had like anything, or any feedback. Like those revamp guys were replying on all social medias, like really working at it. Now, granted, smaller team, smaller game, like you're not really catering to how many millions of copies this thing's going to sell. But like, if they're there, I think they understand the importance of that too.
Fair enough. Let's go to the commentators. There are a number of people who have come out and said that they are in the game, including us. Gotcha. We wish. Jesse Palmer, Kirk Herbstreit, Chris Fowler, Reese Davis, Desmond Howard, Kevin Connors. I assume your booth members will be Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit, Saturday Night Football, which is great news for us because that's a great crew, probably the best crew working, most loved across the board. But those other names, Reese Davis, Desmond Howard, those got to make you think college game day is a part of the game, right?
ESPN crew.
Yeah, that's my hypothesis is you're gonna have some sort of game day preview.
Man,
and
did I want
then
that CBS crew a part of it?
Your Kevin Connors and Jesse Palmer will be the halftime show. That's your halftime crew, or you're like, you know how it cuts to mid game on an update of an upset or something. That's where Jesse Palmer and Kevin Connors would come in. I don't know if I'm ready to see like they're gonna do like like 2K used to do with the TNT show. Are they really going to generate like what it looked like? You know what I'm talking about?
So.
Like they did the actual pregame show and they showed Shaq's face and Kenny's face. They're gonna really do that with Desmond Howard and Reese Davis.
I hope so.
Technology.
I was big into that back with the old games. I thought one of the best parts of 06, 07 was when they'd flash up to college game day. Corso would make his pick in the booth before the game.
True, yeah.
Just an electric factory. So just including something like that. I mean, I don't think Lee Corso's very active on Twitter, but hopefully he's in there too, and they're keeping that one a secret. That would be a great piece while he's on his way
Gary
out.
Danielson in it? Has he said anything? Do we know?
No, everybody I named is the ones we've heard from. But they did say that there could be a possibility of multiple announcing crews in the future. And that brought a question that I actually heard from a listener last week. Do you guys think would be okay with you if they only released the base game, College Football 25, once every 2 or 3 years, and they just did updates like online games do, and they added things that way?
As long as it plays well.
Massive update.
Yeah, I guess if it doesn't play well, then you'd want an entirely new game.
But like at the same time, like the rosters are going to update. They do that well. You're going to have online servers so that you won't have to download those rosters. They will be doing it themselves. Like MLB The Show, 2K, like those are live roster updates, right? You'll be able to do that. They'll have a big one I assume in like May or June for like the next year, right? And then if that just stays clean, like we're good, right? But you'll have to keep up on your own end if you're like restarting Dynasty, like maybe somebody got fired, it's a new coach, they're running a new scheme. If you're that into it, to like make sure teams are running the right stuff. I usually depends how I'm feeling when I start a new dynasty, if I move teams around and what I do with them, but
did you guys see the hate? Did you guys see the hate on Twitter of Herbie? Like they're like, people were like, I'm so excited for this feature to be in the game. And it pans into the Madden settings of the in-game commentators scrolling it down to 0. Like there was a bunch of memes of that. Everybody
usually play the game.
Herbie.
A lot of time I'm playing that game muted anyway because I have something else going. Like I'm watching another game or I'm watching a show or I'm listening to music or something. I don't listen to it a ton, like the actual game. I don't know if you guys feel similar.
I think you're only like that though because you've heard every one of those clips umpteen times over 10 years. Like I'm going to be full volume on this for at least 2 years until I get Herbstreit tired of yelling at me for going for 2 up 30.
Did you hear that? Like Fowler they've done endless amount of
oh my god listening to him talk about that was unreal.
That gets me excited. And I like, no offense to Brad Nessler, but like Brad Nessler and Herbie never did an actual game together, at least to my knowledge. Like Fowler and Herbie are the best probably commentating duo in college football right now. So to hear especially Fowler's name when he actually says touchdown your team that you don't really ever hear in real life will be Johnson. I don't know, be pretty damn
definitely
cool.
I never hear it. Every time we play on Saturday Night Football we get thrashed, but yeah, that will be nice. I like that. Okay, last question before we get into our picks for our rebuild teams and ranking our past video games. Out there features that you guys might add. This would be a far-fetched thing that is probably not going to be a thing. I'll lead it off to give you guys an idea, but I always thought it would be cool in Dynasty mode to have more upper management options. Like everybody knows that unless you're Oregon, Maryland, you don't pick your uniforms week to week. Nebraska schedules them out for the year. I know what they're going to wear every game. I think it would be a cool feature to not have to pick a uniform every game. You're set for this schedule, wearing this for homecoming. It's out there, but other features like that you may think of that you always be like, oh yeah, that'd be cool if they had it.
I think
Oh.
if you're progressing in dynasty mode, like if you're building up a Mac team, and we're going to talk about that, I think
Stadium
getting
upgrades.
getting the money to add stadium additions or
That is not
upgrades.
something I had thought of, Jake, but I love that idea. The ability to grow.
I mean, you're
That
going to
would be
win
sweet.
games. You're going to be on TV. You're going to be getting the playoff revenue share. Might as
Like-
well use it for facilities or something, or a stadium update.
I
What
got
do
a
you think,
stupid
Reese?
funny one. I don't know if they're gonna do it. Did they mention if they're gonna add mascot games at all?
I'm sure they'll
I-
have I don't know if they
Mascot
set a lot.
mashup is a staple.
That'd be a
that's good
stupid
question.
funny one. I mean, I hope they have it in there.
The old ones were hilarious. The Stanford tree running the
was about
option.
to
There's
say,
nothing like
yeah.
it. There's absolutely nothing like the Stanford tree running the option. Another one I had, JP, was kind of on the franchise level of Madden, where you kind of got to set, and I know they have this in NHL, where you had to like set your ticket prices and you get to
Yeah, I
set
remember that.
your merchandise prizes. I would like to have access to something within the NIL. Like if we're going to open a collective and I get to select, let's say, beef jerky or a beer, like all of the collectives have, and whatever I pick, it randomizes, and some of them are successful and I make
Mhm.
money. Some of them are not successful and I lose money, and it can raise or lower my collective based
Yeah.
upon how the product hits. I think that would be cool too.
Out there things I can't. I thought about this today. This isn't out there. This is just something I really want. We need a mix between NCAA 13 recruiting and NCAA 14 recruiting.
That's
14
very
was too
important.
easy and had nothing to it. It wasn't
No.
any fun.
NCAA 12 is
What's wrong
hard
with
to
12 compared
recruit.
to 13?
And
13
there's
was the
so
same
much. It takes forever to
interface.
recruit in 12.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And 13's the one where
that's a
you
challenge.
call kids and you have 6 topics and you're changing.
Yep.
That's in 13 as well. But I'm saying 14 got too easy. And I get
Yeah.
a lot of the guys that want to just play the game to play the game in the years, but that's not what franchise is.
Yeah.
Or dynasty. Like that's not what it is. Like it's the whole thing and the whole kit and caboodle, right? So we need a little mix of both, in my opinion, in that. If you want to just like play that, just play one season. Who cares how you're recruited? If you don't care about the recruiting, just play a single season.
Or you have it like a
can't
Madden where you
tailor
have a
that, yeah.
franchise mode or a
It needs to be
season
intricate.
mode.
Yes.
So you can either run that stuff, run recruiting, collectives, handle that stuff, or just play the games if you want to play the games. You can have that option. I can't imagine that would be a tough add-in for them. But all right, let's jump to our schools that we want to rebuild. We're going in order of JP, Reese, Jake, and myself. JP, you are up first. JP has 2 teams that he wanted to
Okay.
rebuild. I gave him 2.
But guys,
Sorry
I
to break
said
the
it
news.
as a backup. I said no. I started.
I told
said,
you there was no
Mention?
duplicate.
You're gonna steal
Okay,
somebody's
but I
pick before
just
they
said
even
it
get
anyway.
No,
I
no
guarantee
duplicate.
you don't have mine.
I'm
I bet you
let's
can
hear it.
guess.
All right, fine.
I bet you can guess the
But he
first
gets-
one, the second one
Jesus.
probably not. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Now
ULM.
you're sitting here and you're thinking Louisiana Monroe. Interesting. I'm like, yeah.
I've seen that
But
stadium.
here's a couple things that I went down once I go through everything. I didn't want to do any of the new to the FBS teams. They're going to be too hot a commodity. I don't want to hear everybody talking about them using Kennesaw State, Sam Houston State, and all that stuff, right? Because everybody's going to be doing it. So that's why I went ULM. Team that's been in the FBS for a while. Recent rebrand. These uniforms were not in 14. School, it's always had financial issues. Like they forever have had problems keeping people at ULM, winning games at ULM in any sport. It's just kind of one of those situations. Beautiful rebrand in a middle of nowhere. We were on campus around the football stadium, baseball stadium, in the basketball arena while we were down there. It's small. It's nice, I guess. It's fine, but there's just not a lot to it. They're historically bad. They're 124th out of 131 teams in winning percentage all time. They've only got one bowl game and appearance. That was in 2012. They lost that bowl game, and they haven't been above 500 since 2012. They had 1 year. I think they were 6-6, like 2014 or 15. That's it. There's no winning tradition there. It's one of the hardest jobs in the world, hardest jobs in college football. Great uniforms you got to have, and just it's an interesting backstory. So I picked ULM here. I felt
Good
like
pick.
that was pretty.
Good
I thought you guys could guess that one, but yeah, that's ULM for me. Who'd you say? was
Beautiful,
next?
Yes, that-
beautiful
that would be great.
rebrand. JP, your second option is next.
Oh,
So
shit.
show everybody the
I'll
second
go
school
quick
you
on
would
this
rebuild.
one.
Okay.
New Mexico. Another thing.
like that.
A little bigger of a conference, right? But again, no tradition. They're a basketball school. People talk about New Mexico because of the pit and the basketball stuff, right? 118th in win percentage, unique logo, unique name, really cool uniforms. They've really rounded it out. The stadium itself is pretty. The turf is sweet. And they haven't had a conference title since 1964. And they were co-division champs in 2016 with Wyoming, but lost a tiebreaker. Didn't even play for a conference title that year. So again, just another school, not super basic. It's off the grid a little bit, but still hits all the uniforms, bad all the time, check boxes. So that's quick on the second one. But
That does
third
that
one
does
here.
hit every box you need to actually rebuild a school from the bottom up. How challenging at these schools, and all of them, I've seen all of them, are the collectives are going to be extremely challenging. And those funny TikToks that we've seen where it's you lose your 5-star or 4-star recruit to Ohio State because he's getting paid 200 grand are very well in the mix for the schools that are chosen. Next up, I believe, is Reese. Reese, tell us about your rebuild team.
I picked Coastal. I just think they're a newer team. Also, like College World Series 2016. It's kind of I think that when Coastal Carolina kind of became a little more known, I think in just college in general, and then Grace McCall last couple of years, and everybody remembers the Mormons versus Mullets, but they're becoming a little more relevant the past couple of years as well too. And I also just think their color scheme, like their teal, I think is one of the better uniform combinations in the game. So I could imagine wearing that. You're going to wear that at your conference championship, or you get to the 12-team playoff. It'd be a fun team to play with in there. And also, it'd be a great place if I'm going to go coach. It's right on the beach there in South Carolina. You're in the Fun Belt. It's a great conference to be a part of. You can build something there. Also, you're the state of South Carolina. Football isn't looking too great in that state right now, if you don't know that. So you can become a little more well-known in the powerhouse in that state. So I think Coastal will be a helpful, fun team. Also, DeShonta Clears. Is there a better or more unique mascot in college at all? I don't know. I think it'd be a fun one to have. So
It's a fair question. I don't know if there's a more unique mascot than that. Also,
Gamecock.
just to build on your
Pretty
spot, do you think you could possibly get tired of playing those home games on that teal turf?
How
They
good
need
is
to
your
redo that, by
TV?
the way. Yeah, it's gonna be bright.
yeah, you might have to turn that sensitivity a little bit, but I don't know. You could have some fun. Brooks Stadium.
Yeah, it would be a little bit bright. All right, Jake, you are next. Take us through your rebuild team. I think it's a homer pick, and this may be a shout out to his girlfriend.
Is this a
it's-
homer pick or a kiss?
Or
ass
it's
pick?
it's a
Schaefer's
kiss.
been. I remember being at the Tav and Schaefer betting on a Colorado State football game. This guy's been there.
Reese,
I remember
Reese,
that.
what are the similarities between the time you were at the Tab and right now?
The what?
You said the Tab, right? He mentioned
Yes,
this
the
at the
Tab.
Tab.
With tabs,
There's
throw
massive-
everybody in shithole bar in our college town that we love. to
Paradise
go
on
to.
Earth.
There's massive similarities to like us drinking at a tavern right now too.
What do you mean?
This was around because he was still with the woman.
Oh,
He was with a
That's a
woman.
big
That's
fan
right.
of this.
Oh,
Really?
that's
Like,
right.
yeah,
Only
it's all the
because
same.
women
Yeah,
because she
it's
was
not that
from-
unique.
Shout out Geef.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is a little bit of a homer pick, but honestly, because your guys' jobs are harder. At least JP's were hard. I'll give you props on the ULM one, but I think that's a little bit of a homer pick too, because you've been there. This is
Fair.
another place I have been. This was a team back in like the really early 2000s, late 90s that had like really good history in the WAC in the Mountain West. And recently, this goes to my bias on just how much Jay Norvell kind of pisses me off on how poor of a job I think he's doing at this school so far with the
Schaefer turned
NFL
around.
talent that he's had. So I think it's a school that'd be fun to kind of rebrand or rebuild. It's got a really nice stadium. I think it's probably arguably the nicest stadium in the Mountain West. The uniform combinations are awesome, from the state flag to the agriculture uniforms. Just they're regular. I think
Orange
they're green and
baby.
they're orange, like they're green and gold is a decent little combo. And I think that, it's a little more realistic too. Like it's a program I think you could make a top of the Mountain West in just 2 short years. And then maybe you could bring them to the new Big 12 in 2027 or something like that. So that was kind of a little bit of a reason for mine.
Underrated
good
logo
brand.
with how
It's a
simple
good
it is.
brand.
Yeah,
Good.
That's a
good
better way to
call,
put it.
JP. The Ag Day uniforms, the green and orange, also a nice little combo that they throw out there once a year. Good pick on that one. All right, going to mine. Mine is simply a location spot. This is the team I rebuild in college football revamp to this day. Every time I start a new dynasty, this is where I start. It's awesome to be within the state of Texas and how many way bigger brands there are there. UTSA, even Texas Tech, Texas, Houston. I have all these teams in state that make sense to play early in the year. And it makes for a much faster rebuild, and it also makes for more fun in recruiting because a lot of the recruits in this game, even back when 14 was a thing, came from the state of Texas. I don't need to use them as my extra pipeline state, and it just makes it a faster rebuild just to build them up. Also, one of my favorite brands in college football. It's the best green out there next to Marshall. So
that's
that
a
would
hot
be my
take.
choices. No, it's
The
not. It's very
best
similar
green
green.
in college football.
It
It's
is.
a bright green. I mean,
It's a great
it's-
green. It's a mean green. Would you say it's a mean green?
I would say it's a mean green. Yeah.
Yep. There we go. That fits absolutely
Trying to think of
perfect. So that
greens.
would be my pick.
How many greens
would-
are there in college football? There really aren't that many.
Oh,
Oregon.
there's a decent chunk.
We're
There's
gonna
a
start
decent
doing
chunk.
this right now.
Yeah, Eastern Michigan. I mean,
Charlotte.
There's a decent chunk. Yeah. Oh yeah,
Wall.
we can do this.
I mean,
Coastal.
Colorado State.
Deal.
Coastal.
Coastal might be a hot.
We're calling
that-
that
I-
green. I'm sorry,
I
but it's
said
more
it's
green
teal.
than it
I
is
said it
blue.
was
It's teal. It works as green
It's
now.
teal. It was a joke, guys. Come on, Jesus.
Notre
Oh,
Dame.
JP
Michigan
backing
State.
up. Yeah, Notre Dame would count for sure. Michigan State, good call. Yeah, there's quite a few down there.
Now we all got to actually win. We all got to take a picture when we all
guys,
win. a
we
national
messed up.
championship with these
George.
guys.
George nailed
What?
it. It's the best. This is the best green in college football. There's your answer.
Oh,
Tulane. Tulane is easily the best because they got the actual teal.
That's
they
true.
got the green.
and the
They
green
got
And the
everything.
baby blue. Yeah, it's great.
And they are literally the
I
green.
feel like that's
wave.
going to be a hot one too, but they're going to come out
is
of the
the mean
game
green.
being. But they're going to be. What's Tulane going to be like an 85 when that game comes out? It's hard to rebuild. the teams
Ooh,
already
that might
good.
be too high without Pratt.
I don't
might be
know. They
too
still.
high.
They still
Be a
were
fun-
really good.
That'd
this
be a
past
fun
year.
rebuild team.
they still
I
did
agree.
well against Ole Miss without him.
They're still probably the pick to win the American next year.
I'll tell you what, that town is so bad. I wouldn't even
Memphis,
figuratively move a
maybe.
coach to
Memphis
New
might be.
Orleans. I wouldn't put him down there. I would
why he
never
wouldn't do
ever
it.
do
It's a
that.
heck of a
to
comment
somebody.
because that's a fact. We miss Tulane. Tulane's all uniform team though. If we wanted to go just based off uniforms to play in this game.
Oh god, yeah. There's gonna be
We got to
great-
stop.
Stadium is
We're gonna
gonna be
we're
in
gonna keep
the-
going for
in
an
the
hour,
game, too.
boys.
Yeah,
We're getting-
no,
we're
we
now
don't have
getting
to
on
stop because that's
all
a good point,
uniform.
JP. Going to the game, do you think how far back do you think they'll go with uniform combinations? Obviously, Nebraska didn't start
It's
wearing
everything
uniform
they were
combos until
submitted.
2012. Everything, every combo they've worn
That the
since.
school that the school submitted to them, I'd assume.
Yeah,
I
that's
assume everybody
fair.
gets 3 or 4, is my guess, with exceptions
How
in there.
how in depth do you think they go with the stadium sounds as they
what I was
requested
thinking.
submittals? And Iowa State, Jake, did a beautiful job on their submittals. What a blessing for you. But
Yeah.
like they requested
haven't
Hell's
seen either.
Bells, the Cyclone Horn.
Well-
JP, Iowa was super basic. Nothing. So did
I
Nebraska.
figured.
They just did all
I
the
would
fights.
I would have done a poor job of playing music in the stadium, but that's
I know, but they
Didn't
didn't like Back in Black, Serious. I mean, these are just gigantic songs in college football that are well known.
you
at
know,
each
you know,
and
probably know why, because Barta was still the AD when they were sending all that crap in, and he's a bum and he's on his way out the door. So hopefully Beth
Yeah.
gets him a call and be like, hey,
That
fix
guy.
this. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. All right, we got one more piece to do. We ranked our top 3 college football video games of all time. Obviously, 25 could possibly make the list at some point in time, but these are the top 3 in the history of the video game. JP's up first. JP, I skipped the line. Reese, you're actually going second.
That's
And
fine.
it's after JP and I, because JP and I had the same exact list. If you click over the next graphic, it's the exact same with
I
my name on it.
knew you were
This is
talented.
the correct list, JP. Good pick.
Okay. Well,
let you
then I'll
go.
go quick and then I'll let you go a little bit on it too. Now, one's one. I think this is, I could hear number 2 being 1 for certain reasons. You have to give me the correct reasons though, right? This is number 1 because it was really the next generation of college football games. This was leaping into everything. They were revamping the offenses, revamping playbooks, revamping what people looked like, the uniform options, the ability to start online dynasties that were a little more in depth. So that's the GOAT. That's the best one of all time. Obviously biased because year 1 you've been stuck with for 10 plus years. Number 2, NCAA 06 was actually the second game where they really took a big leap. This is the introductory of Road to Glory or Heisman Watch or what did they call it exactly? Race for the Heisman. And everything in this game too, like they really did a good job of making this the next generation, because 05 was pretty good, but 06 was a leaps and bounds above it. Also, underrated thing in 06, as you were playing Race to the Heisman, the better you got, the hotter your girlfriend's picture did on your computer. I don't know if you guys remember
Oh,
that.
that's
It's a real thing.
facts.
Yeah. And then 3, I have this one because it's a little bit
Keep
of
that
a
2024.
personal pick, because all the mini games that were in this were absolute blast. You had option dash, special teams challenge. Me and my brother played that for hours on end against each other. That's kind of the homer pick on that one, because this game did have some weird movements. Like the way people ran sometimes was kind of odd, but I have it in 3 because those mini games were just so fun and so unique to NCAA. Parks, you had the same one, so I'm not going to take up too much of it. But
Yeah, no, one I'm very big on when it comes to these games, the presentation of it and how similar it looks to TV. I think NCAA 14 did the best job out of any video game ever to compare it. Other than NCAA 10 did a fantastic job, basketball that is. They did a great job as well, but NCAA 14 football was just beautiful the way it was presented. The turf looked better. If you look at the differences in grass and turf from 12 and 13 to 14, they made a massive jump, and this was a huge jump, just graphics across the board for the game. NCAA 06, JP, jumping on the back of yours, you got to customize your dorm room in this game in Road to Glory. It was the coolest thing ever.
yeah,
They
create a
actually
school,
showed you,
all that
yes,
stuff.
they actually had the Heisman Trophy ceremony. If you won it, you'd go up there and hold it. It was just next level stuff. And one of the best games ever. Too bad that clown is on the front of it. And then the last one was the jump. JP, you mentioned the weird graphics and kind of weird movements. That was the biggest jump actually in graphics at the time for both games, because this was on the next generation console. This was the first next gen game alongside Madden 10 with Polamalu and Fitzgerald on the cover. It was just better overall. Like they worked out the kinks, obviously, but this was the jump from general Xbox to 360, PS3 to the upgraded version. And it was just a great game overall. Beautiful presentation. And I think it's very important for the new game to have ESPN, both game day, picks, like even having the images on where Herbstreit got to pick on the preview of the games. Those minimal details are very important to keep. So that would be my list, and that is why. I believe Reese is next. Reese, take us through them.
Number one, I got
Jake
06
is pissed.
because what?
I
What?
hate out of all you guys. I just hate seeing 09 and 10 in there. I just think they're not
Okay, yeah,
a great
we'll get to my why 09 is in there. But 06 for me, that's the OG. That's what got me into it. I remember playing my brother in this when I was at his house when he was in college, and then also it was just the first game that got me into it. Like I mentioned, playing as Ed Hinkle, and then Parks had a good point. I remember, but like Lee Corso in the booth when he would put the mask ahead of him before the game. That's a really nice touch. And then I don't know why, but it's just burned in my conscience. I remember I would always, when I did like the race to Heisman or whatever, I would always be, his name would be Mike Bush, and he'd be a wide receiver for Texas. Don't know why, but that was my guy, dude. I'd grind out with him. So that's why I got 06 for mine, just because of the nostalgia. That's really what got me into it. Also, JP, best soundtrack.
Yep.
The best soundtrack.
Incredible soundtrack. Incredible
Absolutely.
soundtrack.
Me, myself, and I, Basket Case,
Train in Vain.
Train in Vain, absolute bangers. Shout out our Morningside BP playlist. I had a few of those on there. And then 14, I got on there just because also it's the last one. I remember playing with you guys a few times at the house, learning how all the recruiting, all that stuff worked. So I just enjoyed that one. And then I got 09 on there because this is the only reason why is because I only had 06 until I got a 360 so I could get caught. And the first football game I got on there was 09. And when I would play my brother on that one, I just ran the option with Boise like 3 games in a row, and I dismantled him. So that's why I got that up there as well.
One that
couldn't
wasn't
figure it
included.
out.
You guys remember when 09 and 10 and not 10, but 08 and 09 released on the PSP? Bad video.
Oh my
game.
god, I
They
love
loved that.
PSP.
But PSP was
PSP
way
was
ahead of
way
time.
ahead of
One
it,
the best
dude.
Can we
That was
seriously
so
bring that
good.
back?
SmackDown versus
you
Raw
could
on that thing
simply-
was nasty.
If you could take your next gen console, right, whether you got the PS5 or whatever, right, but you also had a handheld version of it with it, and all you had to do was like plug in and out like a SIM card from your Xbox into that PSP or whatever it was, and take the Dynasty on the road. Like I feel like it's not that hard to do it. I feel like we could do it. But
Well,
the
what if you-
PSP
what
was
if you can get-
electric.
What if you can get college football on like on Nintendo Switch? You guys gonna buy a Switch?
Oh man, what I think about it.
Absolutely.
lie.
Yeah, I
Is that-
travel.
what do you
I
think about that
travel
on
enough
road
where I'd probably do it.
I would think about letting my girlfriend drive on road trips if that was an option.
That's a good
Ash, you
call.
take over.
That's legitimately putting your life in danger, and that's not a shot at women, but more a shot
Like,
at
come
Ashton.
on.
That's insane.
That's putting your life in danger to play the video game. That's a good call.
Ash, quit swerving. I got App State coming in here this week. I got to win.
I
That's
swear, I
dedication.
need you to stop. The light's green. I don't care. I got to keep the field goal rattling.
That would be good. All right, Jake, take us through your top 3 of all time. And 11, these are probably the order of how many controllers you broke as well.
It it probably is ranked in the hours I logged in from. Actually, if I had to actually keep track, 07 probably takes the cake on the hours that I logged in for each game. I will start with 3 first. I think 07, it's probably a little biased pick. it really didn't separate itself from '06. Like '06 brought in a ton of new
Mhm.
features, but as a kid, I played '07 a lot more. And I just thought that it was a lot more fun for some reason. I just enjoyed playing that
Jake,
more.
were
But
you
honestly,
a PlayStation or Xbox kid?
I was an Xbox. I never had a
Xbox.
Okay.
PlayStation, but
Good job.
Those
on the
controllers can
conversation
take a lot of heat.
of a PSP, '07 was the game that was on PSP. So I did play that on the road a lot, and that was actually a lot of fun. Um, Before I get into 2 and 1, I think from looking at your guys' list, like NCAA really struggled, I think, from '08 to 10. Like I really did not enjoy any of those games. They were kind of in the period of '08 where like they were transitioning to Xbox 360. '09 I thought was bland. 10 I thought was bland. That'll get to my number 1 in a second. Number 2, I don't want to put 14 at number 1 because I think we're
Because you
all just
fumbled diving into the end zone. It's the best game ever made.
no. I
It did
think
have
we're
some
just
cheeky
all
things.
a
They
little
did.
biased that it was the last game ever played. They were improving. Like it was a better game than 13, but we just saw more of like the potential that it was. And
Yeah.
we're like, man, this game is still great compared to like Madden 2020 or whatever the hell. So I
Well,
think we're kind of just holding on to that nostalgia. That's why we put it at 2, or
I
that's
think
why we're holding it as the best.
to your
But
point
there
though,
were
Jake,
some good things about it.
like that was I feel like Madden had a stranglehold on football games for a long time. And then right
Mhm.
around that 13, 14 is when people started to get really pissed with Madden and be done with it. And it felt like college football was just doing this. Like NCAA games
Yep.
were flying upward and Madden was tanking at the wrong time.
Yeah. No, I think it's Madden 13 and it's like the most basic game of all time. It's just terrible how much of an effort they didn't put towards that game. But number 1, NCAA football 11, I thought really bridged the gap to propel 12, 13, and 14. Just from gameplay itself, the one thing I have a problem with is like the camera and the lighting in the game is a little darker than 12 through 14. But I thought it took a giant step in gameplay, like the way the players move and the animations, as well as the broadcast. That was the first game that introduced the ESPN broadcast. And I think personally for me, it just like as a 12, 13-year-old kid, it made me feel like I was playing actual college football that I watched on TV every single time. And it like
So important.
enhanced. And like you guys remember, if you had NCAA basketball 10, like when they made a chance, they put you on CBS or ESPN,
Yeah.
the gameplay did not get that much better. But just the fact that it did that just improves your enjoyment of the game so much more. So them finally getting that contract with ESPN and transitioning into that on top of, I think the game, I like the gameplay. Like there was a time I was just playing NCAA football 11 just for the gameplay. So that's my reason at number 1. And I think it made the game itself.
I think you nailed it. I wanted to make this very clear. It would be the very cool feature, one of those out there ones, if they could do that in college football, where some games were on CBS, or depending upon your conference or team you selected, that's where you played. Like if you're Big Ten now, you're CBS. If they added the Fox broadcast in, that would be so cool. If you got big noon or college game day, there's so many possibilities for them to do with this game. It's gonna be awesome.
And I think 11 was the first game you could do conference realignment. I want to say it was the first one.
It's got to be close.
It's
It
either
was either
11
11 or 12 because it wasn't
Yeah.
10. I know.
I
for
just
a
don't
fact it
remember
wasn't 10.
exactly the year that they, changed that. But one thing I do think we have to talk about with these games, right, is how much detail is going into the back end of stuff rather than the gameplay. Like do they think that like just the way it looks is going to change everything? Because I felt like Jake's talking about that game, like they added things to it, but it wasn't overbearing. Like they didn't pour everything into it. It was still making leaps in gameplay. Like we can't make the option as easy to run as it was in 14. Like, or are they going to just let that happen?
I think this is maybe a good bow of where we'll end off. And Parks keeps asking me why I'm negative Nelly on this. The hype and the transition over a 10-year span from 14, where we left off, on how we talk about how great that game is, to the buildup of what 25 has to be.
Also, how talented the rebuild team was.
Yeah, it's too much. I think the rebuild team, it has a lot to do with it, and improving that game year after year when there was no new game. I just think that 25, man, is going to have, like, it's going to be, is the gameplay good enough? is the stadium sounds good enough that they submitted and did all this hard work? How much uniforms do they have? Who's all in the game? Is it realistic? Like, we're trying to like go through this checklist of all of these things that 25 needs to have. And to be quite honest, even though it's been a decade, I don't think these guys can perfect every single facet of that game. So I don't know.
It's kind of like waiting from Incredibles 1 to Incredibles 2, where you expect so much more from the second movie because you wait a decade for the game. That's kind of the
15
situation we're in
years
with
too
this video
late.
game. Yeah, it's kind of the situation we're in with this video.
It's still a
game,
good
but
movie though.
Yeah, very good movie. I think it had to be.
Seriously though, what's the biggest thing? And maybe we kind of asked that, but like, what's going to make you happy about this game? Like, what's
plays
going
fine.
to be
The bumps
that's
and bruises
it.
and
just the play?
Yeah,
It's got to be the play.
Yeah, I don't care. I do. It's all everything on top of the gameplay is gravy. Like all the presentations, like Parks was talking about, their ability to make you feel like you're there and stuff. That's all gravy. Like I just need the potholes and the speed bumps and everything to be manageable, so I could play this game without getting too pissed off about it 4 quarters in.
There's 2 for me. It's the gameplay, obviously, and then the presentation is equally as important to me as the gameplay.
Yeah.
I can play Madden as long as there's an ESPN feel to it. Thank God they already know the announcers. But if you would have given me Madden and keep some guy I've never heard announce on Saturdays with a scoreboard I've never seen before, which very important, score bugs are very important, then I that would piss me off. But I do not think that's going to happen.
No, I agree. Especially what Brad Nessler assured. Nessler's little spiel on Twitter last week genuinely got
Fowler?
got me giddy. Or sorry,
Yeah, okay.
Who did I say? Did I say
Nessler. That's all right.
Wow.
Shout out.
Sorry.
He's still a good one.
Human.
Fowler's
the
tweet
it right now,
last
bad.
week got me like, okay, when he said touchdown Wyoming, that got me fucking pumped.
I know.
That was awesome.
See, so he's not all negative all the time. That's his good stuff. Before we close out the show, just one more time.
They don't have any timeouts. We don't have any timeouts. You gotta. Hey, here, come on, get off. Who you got? Who you got? Who you got? Put it on my ball.
What the fuck is that, Slim Cooper? Why did you dive forward? Why did you dive forward?
Going for it on 4th down, he scored a touchdown. That was awesome.
What are you fucking doing?
That was awesome.
Hey, if you're just a listener, make sure you go to TikTok to watch those. Those are all time.
Just
I
so
will say-
concerned about that controller after he threw. He goes, I hope it's
The double checking of the controller working is my favorite
He
part.
knew I was sitting behind him and just wanted my turn to play.
JP, you missed one too. You have another good one of me somewhere.
I'm
you
sure
know
I
it's-
do, but that's just so memorable.
I will say this podcast will be over when the new game comes out because I'm going to be the new Sketch of college football. I'm going to be a more entertaining streamer than Sketch himself.
Check Rebecca. Check Rebecca.
All I do is take. And then I'm just going to slam controllers and people are going to be like, let's watch this 25-year-old crumble at this game.
My
This is
favorite thing is
awesome.
when he goes and he does the DK Metcalf. He does the dog pissing on his chairs. He scores the touchdown.
There is a lot of possibilities and a lot of fun plans we have for the game's release. I think we could do a lot with our listeners, our new fans as the new year
Fight
comes.
Song
But
Online Dynasty.
absolutely, there's a ton of possibilities. Maybe a Twitch channel, maybe a Kick channel. We can have a little fun and each take turns playing some games on there. Online Dynasty, we'll stream them out to you guys. Make it a whole new thing. Sketch is ready to go in the bottom. Shout out Sketch if you're somehow listening to this. He's one of the funnier guys in existence right now. But this has been a great episode. We covered a lot. So we appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next time. Jake, take us away.
College Football 25. Make sure you play fight songs. Play it!